On Wednesday, President Nicolás Maduro highlighted the importance of the debates that took place during the World Anti-Fascist Congress being held from September 10th to 11th in the country. In Argentina, citizens mobilized as the opposition in Congress tries to overturn Milei's veto to an increase in pensions. And in the United States, the presidential candidates Donald Trump and Kamala Harris participated in the first presidential debate ahead of the elections of November 5th. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Wednesday, President Nicolás Maduro highlighted the importance of the debates that took place in the framework of the World Anti-Fascist Congress being held from September 10th to 11th in the country. During the closure of the event, the president assured that for the past 2 days, Venezuela became the epicenter of the fight against fascism and all those dangerous expressions. The president assured this Congress is also a homage for Chilean leader Salvador Allende when the world remembers 51 years of the coup d'etat that ended with his life but never with his political legacy and example. The World Anti-Fascist Congress also took place amid the struggle Venezuela is fighting against the far-right wing of the Western powers, and it has also been a starting point to create an international force to face fascism in defense of democracy and peace in the world.
If a technocrat businessman is needed who wears a white shirt to look like a simple, humble person, with a lot of money and who doesn't need to steal, who is a technician, a professional, not a politician, and who assumes the anti-politics. Then they create a Noboa in Ecuador. There is something for all tastes. Fascism, neo-fascism, and similar expressions.
The Venezuelan president praised the Congress coverage carried out by the media and said he had enjoyed and followed closely the most important moments of the event.
I have enjoyed the coverage made by TeleSUR, Venezuelan de Television, and other social networks and media about the presentations, the debates, and the proposals that are coming up in this Bolivarian Caracas on September 10th and 11th in this Congress of World Struggle Against Fascism.
On Wednesday, the National Assembly of Venezuela held a debate in rejection of the interference of the Spanish extreme right in the Congress of Deputies to deny the victory of President Nicolás Maduro in the elections of July 28th. During the ordinary session, the legislators strongly rejected the measure of the Spanish Parliament and condemned the flagrant interference of the Spanish Parliament in the internal affairs of Venezuela, reaffirming the hegemonic powers will never rule over Venezuela. Likewise, the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, assured that Venezuela will not tolerate disrespectful attitudes and assured that the country is willing to stop commercial relations with Spain due to the negligent position of the Spanish far right.
It is not an unusual operation of diplomacy. That is called supremacism, that is called racism, that is called disrespect to the international norm, that is called disrespect to the history of the heroic people of Venezuela, which is the liberator of the nation of America. That is called disrespect to the participate and protagonist democracy that is enforced in this country. We do not need anyone's recognition. The Spanish Parliament is wrong. They do not get tired of making a fool of themselves, for God's sake. In addition, the Spanish Parliament says that there were hundreds of Venezuelans protesting at the doors in support of this decision. But the Spanish Parliament also says that there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan refugees living in Spain. Where were they? Where were the Venezuelans who support Edmundo González here in Venezuela? Where are they? Where were the demonstrations? Where were those who supposedly support him in Madrid? Where were they? Look, they are trying to make it impossible. They cannot wash their face of that shame. The Spanish parliament today, what it did was become a spokesman of international fascism. It became a spokesman for the crimes that this macabre duo of Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo González committed against the Venezuelan people, and it is not the first time.
In the same context, Jorge Rodriguez requested the Permanent Commission on Foreign Policy to approve a resolution to break off relations with the government of Spain.
President of the Permanent Commission of the Foreign Policy and other members of the Commission of Foreign Policy come together immediately, approve a resolution that the plenary approves in a perennial way, urging the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to immediately break all diplomatic relations, all commercial relations, all consular relations. Let all representatives of the delegation of the government of the Kingdom of Spain and all consulates live here, and we bring our people from there. Let them stay with their murderers, with their hitmen, with their fascists, with their violence. Let them stay with that caterpillar.
In Argentina, citizens mobilized in rejection of President Javier Milei's veto to a pensions increase. This happens as the opposition in Congress tried to overturn the veto. However, the veto was ratified with the support of centrist legislators who changed sides at last minute. Demonstrators reject the government's economic policies, which have led to the increase of hunger in the nation and the possible dismissal of 60,000 workers. Argentina is living a situation that affects the sustainability of life, since many families have difficulties to make ends meet and afford the basic food basket. Peruvian dictator Alberto Fujimori died on Wednesday at the age of 86 due to cancer, his daughter Keiko Fujimori confirmed via X. Earlier, it was reported that Fujimori's health had worsened as a result of his long fight against cancer and one ailment due to his advanced age. Last May, Fujimori reported he had been diagnosed with a malignant tumor in his tongue after suffering from a cancerous lesion for more than 27 years. The former president, who governed Peru from 1990 to 2000, was sentenced to 25 years in prison for violating human rights, specifically for 2 massacres of civilians perpetrated by an army squadron in the fight against the Sendero Luminoso group in the early 1990s. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump engaged in a tense confrontation during the only presidential debate U.S. citizens will likely see before going to the polls in November. The presidential candidates crossed strong accusations on sensitive issues such as economy, migration, abortion, healthcare, and foreign policy, while also dodging direct questions from moderators on future policy plans. Trump assured that under his presidency there would never have been a war with Ukraine. In turn, Harris accused him of supporting Russian President Putin. During the face-off, Latin America and the Caribbean were scarcely and negatively alluded to, as Trump attacked Haitian and Hispanic immigrants, which, together with his questioning of Harris' ethnic background, promoted the current vice president to warn about his divisive approach.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
In turn, former U.S. President Donald Trump criticized the Biden-Harris administration for its alleged lack of action during the current term.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it?
Also during the debate, when questioned about their stand on the ongoing Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people, both candidates ratified Israel's right to defend itself, with Vice President Harris highlighting the two-state solution option, but backing the current administration's support for the Zionist regime.
And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
The Israeli forces keep up the siege against the Palestinian civilian population. In the past couple of hours, they slaughtered over 27 Gazans. While the U.S. presidential nominees ratified their support for Israel's right to defend, the U.S. is the main partner in the genocidal operation of the Zionist regime against Palestine. On Wednesday, the Israeli troops have been dropping bombs on a residential building in Han Yunis, claiming 13 lives. Meanwhile, the army killed a fisherman nearby Al-Mawasi, and minutes later, the Israeli forces attacked the Habalia refugee camp, leaving 9 deaths, including 3 children and 2 women. The Israeli army further mounted an incursion into an apartment building in Nusayrat, Gaza's downtown, bringing about 4 fatal victims and 11 injured. In this context, United Nations Secretary General spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric said that the United Nations condemns the attack perpetrated by the Israeli army in the Han Yunis refugee camp in Gaza. Dujarric assured that the Secretary General considers unacceptable the use of weapons in populated areas. The spokesman reiterated that there is currently no safe place in Gaza and appealed on behalf of the agency for an immediate ceasefire. According to health authorities, occupation forces have killed nearly 41,000 Palestinians since last October. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Heat waves and droughts have triggered wildfires in the Amazon rainforest for over a week, stretching unhealthy air quality not only in Brazil but also in Paraguay and Bolivia, according to data collected by the Air Quality Index. In response, 37 military firefighters from Brazil's National Public Security Forces are working on putting out wildfires in the Bolivian border strip. Moreover, the Center for Preventing and Combating Forest Fires of Brazil are leading efforts to extinguish 41 wildfires in the Pantanal wetland region. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education of Paraguay decided on Monday to close schools nearby the wildfires as the air quality has been worsening. In this context, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva touched on the ongoing climate emergency.
Our forests and rivers are a barrier against the climate catastrophe that threatens the planet. That's why the whole world is watching Brazil right now. As you can see here, the drought is coming more systematically. It's not happening gradually.
The Vietnamese Department of Dike Management and Disaster Prevention and Control reported at least 143 deaths and 58 others are missing following the passage of Typhoon Yagi. The most hit areas are Yen Bai, Cao Bang and Lao Cai localities, while in Bao Yen district severe landslides had been recorded. The Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam in Lao Cai and other senior government authorities are directly in charge of leading the search and rescue efforts. Meanwhile, the Central Committee of the Vietnam Fatherland Front, BFF, launched a campaign to support the victims of Typhoon Yagi. The government of Venezuela joined the expressions of solidarity of countries around the world with Vietnam in the face of inhuman and material losses after Typhoon Yagi. In a communique, the government expressed the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela expresses its deepest condolences for the unfortunate death of more than 300 people. Also lamented the loss of valuable infrastructure and landslides due to the devastating floods that have hit the northeastern provinces of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, including Cao Bang, Yen Bai and Lao Cai as a result of the passage of Typhoon Yagi. The document finally expresses our deep admiration for the courage and heroism of the rescue teams and all those who are working tirelessly to help the affected people. In Laos, flash floods in the wake of Typhoon Yagi brought destruction in the north, following villages and farmland, and as authorities reported, one person dead. The worst hit provinces were Luang Nam Ta and Phong Sali, where residents had to shelter on upper floors and wade chest deep through murky waters. In this context, Luang Nam Ta Deputy District Chief Sivalia Panquev said over 300 people from 17 villages were evacuated, while the United Nations World Food Programme said to be very concerned for the safety of communities in northern Laos. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.